right, welcome to the Apex Energy Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Al-Qattan. Today, my guest is Nikesh. He also goes online by YungKingMito. How are you doing, Nikesh?
I'm not bad, thanks, man. How are you?
Doing very well, yeah. Listen, bro, I wanted to get you on this podcast because I absolutely love your page on Instagram. You post loads about quantum biology and Dr. Jack Cruz, and
hmm
I've had some personal conversations with you as well. And yeah, just I find you to be an interesting person, and I wanted to have you on and just kind of ask you some questions, and yeah, see where we go from there.
Yeah,
Uh, can
definitely.
we? Can you just start, if you don't mind, by just giving like a brief introduction about yourself, about what you do?
To be fair, I'm into a few different bits and bobs right now. I originally was a musician, recording, so you can kind of imagine what kind of route that led me down because similar to like Rick Rubin, right? As soon as I left school, I studied music technology, so I've always kind of been around that. And before anything, that's what I kind of am. I have other hobbies on the side, but that's kind of mainly what's been driven me for the past, however long since then. But um, through certain problems that I've encountered, it led me to this route here. So obviously, if you're in the studio, you're going to be with the headset on, you're going to be not the headset, whatnot, recording EMFs, which we'll probably be getting into later, but it's kind of a long route to get here, but that's what I kind of am anyway. So if you wanted to know me originally, I'm just a musician, I'm a vocal artist. I make music, that's my passion. And yeah, it's led me to roots that's led me in here.
Yeah,
But um I'm kind of happy that it's where I am now. I'm actually taking a few protocols to make sure that I'm okay when I'm recording and stuff still. So at the end of the day, um, it's important for on that side. If people are just
yeah.
going to be like, oh, what other stuff might he be into? It's as soon as I got involved in quantum biology, I just can't stop. So this is kind of just this is kind of me now, I'm guessing.
Yeah, gotcha. And I just want to ask, like, are you just a vocalist? Do you play instruments? Like, what kind of
Yeah, I'm a
music?
technician as well, so I'm always in there
Gotcha.
scratching
Is
up
it?
things if I need to, vocals, effects,
Yeah,
making
nice, nice.
polishing up tracks basically, man.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll take. I want to listen sometime if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. I'll send you something for sure.
Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, so how did you get into quantum biology? Usually, with people, they're confronted with some big issues in their lives, and it's enough of a big issue, and they go through enough suffering and pain to kind of break out of something that's normal or within like a contemporary medical kind of answer. They go deep into something to find an answer, and usually they do. So what's your story? What pushed you to go into
I'm gonna
quantum
be honest with
biology?
you. I've always kind of been curious, man. Like I've always just been interested in the deeper questions, and I'm not too sure why. There's things that I always just try to think about that what actually what made me just not want to stop thinking about things and how things work and just so fascinated with just the universe around me, the world around me. I used to watch a lot of documentaries on, the quantum world, the planets, how, how things work on a deeper fundamental level. This is kind of what I've always been into. And actually, funny enough, when I was with my teacher at college, he was kind of clued up on the matrix. I was just explaining, and he was kind of trying to give us some sort of information to lead us in our tasks in school regarding the media side of things. So he kind of knew that mind control, these type of things that they use music for control and all of these type of things. And he actually sent me down a couple rabbit holes myself, leading into, documentaries like Zeitgeist and all of these documentaries that kind of just blow up what's really happening in the world, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
I love Zeitgeist. That's like
yeah,
a
exactly. I must have seen that
great.
about, 12 years ago or something. So I was quite young when I seen it. He was telling me all of these things. And this just led me down another rabbit hole because as you know, all of that stuff, Illuminati, this, that, it's just
Yeah.
kind of it's a whole another rabbit hole. So I was already quite mm, informed about, the presence of just being um not in the best position as a humanity right now. Do you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I was kind of
Hmm.
just I knew there was a problem. I just really didn't know exactly what.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So yeah, it sounds like you didn't really need to break through anything because there was like a skepticism towards the system from the beginning, like you're saying. Like you
Mhm.
just had this natural curiosity and
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
I kind of knew what the issue was, and I kind of eventually head into quantum biology, man, because I went down my own little rabbit holes. I went away from there, and I just took what I kind of knew from that with me. But then after
Hmm.
I kind of realized, you know what, I need to get down to the source because things are changing still today, and there's no real problems being solved. We're hitting like a dead end.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some I'll start with some of the health benefits you've experienced I want to ask you about, and then we'll kind of dive into like the theory and the quantum mechanics and like the light
Mhm.
water magnetism stuff. So yeah, what health benefits have you, or what differences, I guess, in your health have you experienced since like implementing some of these techniques? Or just some changes in your life, would you say?
I've changed so many things, bro. Like, to be honest with you, bro, like I think placebo plays a big role out here. I think people will be like, oh, I took this, I feel like this. Oh, I had my Shilajit, bro, I feel great now. Bro, I just do so much things that like it probably is one of these things, but I just don't even know what it is because I just try to do so many things. But the truth is, I feel there's nothing more important than what it's done to my brain. This
Hmm.
is the key factor. It's not about anything else apart from like if you use your brain, man, you can do some really serious stuff because you just can be one step ahead of other people. And ever since implementing this thing in my life, my brain's just sharper. That's the key,
Hmm.
I think, for me. Obviously, like physically, like I'd like to say, I'm stronger, I'm fast, you know what I mean? But I'm putting a lot of it down to like the charge that I'm holding. I don't really see it. So like I feel charged. I genuinely feel more charged. You know about sleep. You're good with
Yeah.
sleep. Yo, that recharge is just
Exactly.
as important as the charge. So
Gotcha.
yeah, man,
Um.
I feel great all around, man. Like mentally, mainly. And I think that's the main thing, man. If people, you know, struggling to go to the gym, you've got to remember that's your brain kind of telling you that you're lazy, that you don't want to go to the gym. Where if your brain's firing, you're gonna just do it.
100%. Amen to that. Yeah, I'm big into prioritizing like the mind and the power of the mind as opposed
Mhm.
to like physical fitness and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
So, all right. So tell me about what if you were to explain quantum biology to like a newbie, let's say, okay, how would you start it off? It's so vast. There's so many different directions, but where would you start if a stranger off the street asks you
It
about what
depends if you
quantum
want a
biology
long
is?
do you want me to go long? Because you have to
Do,
kind of base it long. But
do yeah.
bro, I just think fundamentally when you look at things, you've got to really see it for what it really is. And what is the deepest level of things, man? And like it's funny you say this because whenever it comes to these type of topics, I'm going straight to the Big Bang. Because when it comes to this complex stuff, if I gave you an iPhone 15 and I said, yeah, check this out, how does it run? You're not going to really understand much. But if I just give you like a little radar with the frequency and everything, and all you got to do is just press what you're probably going to be able to figure that out. And the thing is, it's really a complex topic when you get deep into it. But when you take a couple steps back, you just like, hang on, let's just figure out what is actually just going on. And
Hmm.
I always kind of start with the Big Bang, bro. I always say, yo, the Big Bang happened. Um, the universe just expanded. over like the course of, the first 380,000 years,
Mm,
the atoms weren't even around them. It was actually just protons and neutrons and electrons, and the protons and neutrons just got together. They formed very early on, and the electrons they were just separate, and they couldn't really do anything for a very long time because it was really hot, man. So when this is happening, and this is forming deuterium, this is where actually deuterium comes from. It comes from the Big Bang. Within the
mm,
first seconds, it's the protons collecting the neutrons and forming the nucleus. It took a long time before life actually said, you know what? Not even life, sorry, the universe to kind of say, we need to get things more popping. And when it started to cool down, that's when, atoms started to get together. The deuterium was forming with helium. This was at the beginning as well. So we had like
mm,
helium minus 4 electrons as an ion. And then you've got your deuterium. And as soon as it was enough temperature, these things just got together and they're your atoms. And actually, matter was just condensing, and
mm.
actually, the universe was just expanding. And actually, that's the beginning part. But if you want to talk about this is when it gets cool. But the biggest stars were the first stars that actually first appeared. And actually, every single Milky Way galaxy, sorry, every single galaxy out there has a supermassive black hole. And the reason that is because of the first stars were like so much bigger than the stars now. What actually happened when it died, it ripped a hole in the fabric of space-time.
Mm,
And this created a black hole, and every single galaxy out there has a supermassive black hole. And this is what actually influences the way galaxies move, the way we are. Where are we right now? We're on the spiral arm of the Milky Way. We're right at the end. We're just spinning. We're moving around the black hole. The black hole is kind of allowed this to happen. As much as people think, black holes, they're this, they'll suck it up. We don't want to be around here. It's actually what's half formed the structures of the galaxies, the way the galaxies are actually formed. That's just another topic. That's dark
mm.
energy. That's like 65%, sorry, 67% of the universe. And actually, you got about 28% dark matter. 5% is actually the matter that we see right now. And actually, it's this dark energy. This is what Zwicky was talking about. He explained it's some sort of scaffolding holding all of these galaxies together because there's just no way. And there's so many stars after that black hole matter condensing. These atoms I've just explained, the protons, the deuterium, the helium, they're just condensing and getting so hot, so big that they're becoming the first stars.
Mm,
These explode inside and create heavier elements,
mm,
elements that are around. And when you kind of understand these, you're going to understand more about how we work, because these are just the first things. Okay. These are like, okay, the matter that we see made up of protons, neutrons, protons just made up of quarks,
mm,
sorry. Electrons are separate. They're not made of quarks.
mm.
The dark matter, we don't really know. Axions, photinos. This is just a whole new realm. We don't really know much about the dark side because we can only see what interacts with the matter through light. We don't actually see dark matter with dark energy. We can only just assume that it's here.
Yeah, it's an assumption. Yeah. And yeah, I love the story of Fritz Zwicky kind of discovering and seeing it and kind of laying the foundations of dark matter, dark energy. That is some fascinating stuff. I love cosmology as well and astronomy and all this stuff.
Mhm.
So what to you then is the story of life, if you were to kind of
Exactly. Yeah.
explain it?
This is the amazing part, man. So this stuff is happening, yeah. 4.5 billion years ago is when actually our planet formed. Before then, look, let's just say from what they see, 13.8 billion years. This is how far the Big Bang was. Okay. This was a
Mm,
very, very, very long time ago. But we can see that now, but people don't really realize how we see it. It's like, how do we see it? You don't want to believe it. I say to people, how old it is. They're just gonna just believe what they know, but they don't know how they actually measure it. And one of the key ways is through the cosmic microwave background and actually looking at the Doppler effect. It's actually, if I stood here and a car was driving towards me, the signal's going to get very high frequency at this point, and then as it goes past me, it's going to be stretching out, kind of like a you hear that
Mm,
type of noise. Same thing happens with light. So with light, when it goes past you, you can kind of measure. And what it actually is called redshift. And as light stretches, sorry, as light goes across the universe, it stretches wavelength and heads more towards the red side of things, stretching. So you can kind of figure out how far things are from this Doppler
mm,
effect. So
that's cool.
yeah, so all right, so you kind of know about that. This is when the universe first happened, the Big Bang. Not long after, man, maybe a few million years later, galaxies formed, and the Milky Way was one of the first galaxies. That's why we have that supermassive black hole, because it was that supermassive black hole was one of the original stars that was first here, the huge ones. So
Mm,
that's how old our Milky Way is. At the beginning, there's a lot of things crashing, colliding. There's a lot of stuff. Jupiter was actually going towards the sun at the beginning of the solar system. It was a gas giant. It was actually meant to be a star, but it was a failed star. It didn't get enough momentum to be a star, but it's pretty big, Jupiter. But
mm,
what was actually happening is the gravitational pull from the sun was bringing in Jupiter. And through this, there was a lot of chaos going around in the solar system at this point. And what actually happened was Saturn started to form. And that kind of pulled Jupiter back out.
mm,
So it left space for Saturn to build. Saturn built, Jupiter got pulled back. And what we've got a few planets before Jupiter, and it allowed a lot of chaos to go on, but that was the card shuffling in the deck. This is what was just going to leave for the next part of the way the planets were. Actually, it was
mm,
chaotic at the Great Bombardment, and at the beginning of the solar system, when all the planets formed and stuff like this, Mars, a Mars-like planet called Theia, come into the solar system and actually smashed into the Earth, took a part of the Earth out. We took a part of that planet, and it was like a ring around Saturn. As soon as it crashed, there was like a ring of just dust just
mm,
spinning around Earth, and eventually that compressed. The moon did, and before then, the Earth was 11 days. It was very quick, 11 hours a day. And it's
mm,
when the moon hit it, it kind of slowed down. And one thing that is very important to know about is coupled systems. It's knowing that two things work well together. It's like yin and yang. These are just everywhere. And actually, that moon coming in and hitting the earth and slowing that down, and the moon is moving 6 inches away every year. We're losing it. We
mm,
lose, and it does a lot of things, man. It does a lot for women when it comes to, cycles. It does a lot for the oceans. It was huge, and it was actually magma at the beginning as well, and it ended up solidifying. But you can see when you look at the moon, the, the craters, this is how strong it was. It was actually a lot going on. And they can actually kind of tell where the water came from, because you want to talk about life, we need to talk about water. And where did it come from? And actually, a lot of it came from the outer layer of the solar system, because they just measured the deuterium isotopes. Because at the beginning, they didn't realize how much water was in things in outer space. They kind of thought, it must have had to have formed from mainly the Earth. And that is kind of true, but a lot came from asteroids that
mm,
basically contain water. Water is like a sticky substance. It sticks inside, and it sticks into crystalline structures inside atoms, inside elements. And actually, the more they're seeing into these elements and they're seeing these rocks, they're actually seeing a lot of water out there. And actually, this is the main thing that actually hit Earth and we have more deuterium than other rocks because these specific rocks from the outer came in. So that's an important part. So now, what was the earth like? It was hard. It went through a lot of stress, a lot of chaos. But then eventually, when it cooled down, you know what I mean? The crust formed. Do you know what I mean? It solidified. There was a lot of steam.
Hmm.
Rain fell, and now we've got these H2O in the oceans everywhere at this
Hmm.
point. So the oceans formed pretty quickly. As soon as the planet kind of cooled down, there was oceans. And then now you got to think about it. We know water is so important for life. Why do we, why are we using water? Is the key question, man. Why are we using water? And there's a little few. It's a complex topic. I don't even want to go down there just yet, actually, because I'm just giving this talk through right now. Yeah. But basically, around this time with water, this is when life started to form, actually, man. If you want to actually think, all right, where could a life form? It's the bottom of the oceans, hydrothermal vents, um, through, through chemosynthesis. This is another form of, getting energy, but you're doing it through the bottom of the ocean. And what was actually there, um, bacteria were the first species, archaeobacteria. We're still not entirely sure which ones were the first ones, but these that started at the bottom of the ocean without UV light. So this was a key thing about these first life. The first life was in the dark. They used the solar energy because yeah, chemosynthesis is you're using chemicals for energy instead of the sun, but it's still the sun that's powering it. The sun is actually the solar wind is actually giving that charge to the inside of the planet to create it, allowing it to be alive. So the first life had no real relationship with UV light, and they were at the bottom of the ocean. And then what ended up happening was it stayed in suspended animation. It didn't do anything. They just stayed there, and they first formed about 3.8 billion years, and they've not moved
Hmm.
for billions of years. They just stayed the same. And it's kind of like waiting for the right moment, right? And there was the right moment eventually, man. And if you know about the Cambrian explosion, you'll know this is like one of the key, it was one of the most key elements in life, man. So this was when life took off from these single cell bacteria. They ended up building up a endosymbiotic relationship, which basically means the cells got together, huddled up, and said, you know what, you're good for this, I'm good for this. Let's get this cracking. And pretty much all bacteria do photosynthesis or one of these processes to kind of stay
Yeah.
alive. But when they ended up getting together, there were so many recipes in life that was just perfect, man.
Hmm.
Melatonin come around, DHA, melanin. These are like oxygen. These are all like we can't even explain like how these just came.
Hmm.
Like we don't know if it was just like such a perfect recipe given, or did life just work to just do with these things?
Yeah.
And
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
no, sorry. Yeah, I think Dr. Jack, Uncle Jack has talked about, I think he mentioned that one of the things that happened during the Cambrian explosion as well is like an increase in UV light or something
Exactly.
exposure. Is that
Yeah,
true?
like one of
I heard about it. Yeah.
the magnetic field switched around the Earth, and when it does that, the ozone layer weakens. And there was a heck a lot because look, when we think
UV.
about DHA and
Hmm.
all of these key components, what fundamentally does DHA work with? It's actually UV light, man. And actually, you won't have DHA until you can get UV light. And that was when life started to head towards the top of the surface. The thing
Hmm.
about our sun, it's called a G-class star. And every G-class stars live about 10 billion years, but in its half life, it emits more light. Yeah, okay, it emits about 10% more UV light. So we already know,
Hmm.
and this happened around the Cambrian explosion. If you wanted to actually, let's work it out. okay, actually, the Cambrian explosion was in the sun's half-life, which means there would have been more UV. We knew that the ozone layer was weak and more UV was kicking out. This is what actually
Hmm.
built life. This is like the key part of like
Yeah.
life actually being able to progress as well, man.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
DHA was a key thing. It was really the chloroplasts as well. They came and they kind of gave oxygen, and they
Hmm.
work with, I said, this type of coupled system. They do the same thing with mitochondria that the moon does with the earth. And actually the chloroplasts, they basically, in this world, chloroplast's duty is just to basically feed mitochondria, and that's whatever the mitochondria species is. We can think about it as like, oh, we're people, but the truth is, on a fundamental level, there's a real relationship with chloroplasts and mitochondria. There, especially in us and mammals and stuff, that what chlorophyll, and that's the first step of life, and what that can do for the mitochondria is just, it's so
Hmm.
important. Mitochondria came first because you want to say, oh, hang on, chloroplasts came first because without chloroplasts, you don't have you need chloroplasts first because they're actually supplying mitochondria with glucose and stuff like that. But if you go and look at the bottom of the ocean, you look at chemosynthesis, they're actually mitochondria down there. They ended
Hmm.
up they've traveled. They're like go everywhere around the world, bro, and they're actually right at the bottom of the oceans, just getting fed through other bacteria. So these are just creatures, just organelles, just finding any bacteria to just work with. And it's not just chloroplast. And it is
Hmm.
actually the sun is the first step, but not always photosynthesis. Because when you want to talk about them animals, them creatures, shall I say, at the bottom of the ocean, they don't really rely on that. Photosynthesis can only go, up until a photic zone. So when you go really deep down, how are they getting it? They're getting it through chemosynthesis. So they've built relationships
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
other bacterias apart from chloroplasts, and they're feeding.
Interesting.
So they're really just the master controllers. And I genuinely feel like there is mitochondria out there, or like there are other machines just like mitochondria, in other planets, other systems,
Yeah.
but out in my eyes. But obviously everybody's that is just an opinion, but
Yeah.
they've really learned how to kind of decipher life and work work properly, man. They are the key to us, and that's the main thing about quantum biology. And when it comes to health, if you're looking after these mitochondria, you're gonna thrive. You're gonna do exactly what you feel you need to do, and you're gonna do it.
So how does DHA, let's talk about a little about DHA. Does does DHA build complexity or help fuel complexity in your opinion?
Yeah, definitely, because it's basically called a pi electron cloud that it's filled with, which is basically just loaded with electrons. And if you know about Einstein, in his talk, as Jack says, the photoelectric effect, 1922, you're going to actually realize that the more electrons you have, you're trying to get the light from the sun to interact with that. And when you actually have DHA, you've got more of an opportunity to collect more of that energy, man. And like I
Hmm.
said, DHA is interacting with UV light. That's why you only got DHA around the Cambrian explosion, because UV light was so strong.
Hmm. Hmm.
It
And
does.
this,
Has the UV light as well, has the
yeah.
ability to build and break complex bonds, covalent bonds, even in even in outer space. That's why they find amino acids in meteorites and stuff,
Oh,
because
interesting.
the light out there has already done it. It's crazy how it happens, man. But yeah,
Wow. So what, let's bounce into human evolution because I know you have this idea of, or it's from also Dr. Cruz as well, that human evolution was accelerated, right? Our intelligence and our complexity was accelerated by consuming more DHA. So DHA is like, it's an element obviously that exists within aquatic life, which is where we all come from abiogenesis onward. And then we go onto land. We start evolving onto land, and then there's this return. Am I right to consuming more seafood and consuming more of this DHA? And there's like this human evolution kind of hypothesis that I've read about. Could you explain that a little bit further, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so you just got to kind of just look at the animals around, man, and you look at the animals that eat this stuff and the animals that don't. And actually, because we're mammals, let's just look a bit into the mammal family. What kind of
Hmm.
mammals eat DHA and what don't? And when you actually look at the animals that do, okay, we got the whales, we got the dolphins. They actually went back into the ocean because, like you said, DHA came from there. We left. When you leave there, it's gonna be hard, but the problem is you've got more opportunity to interact with the light. So if you sat there
Hmm.
eating fish and you was outside, because you see the dolphins, they're underwater a lot of the time. They're not getting a lot of, shall I say, photonic power. But when you're
Hmm.
out there, imagine eating these seafood, but you're standing outside and you're actually getting 10 times more sun.
Hmm.
You're going to be able to interact way more. And you look at them animals, they're really smart. How smart are them? The dolphins, they're so conscious and
Hmm.
emotional
Hmm.
creatures.
Hmm.
Actually, when you look at the other animals, because obviously DHA is everywhere, but there's just a specific form of it in the ocean. But there's DHA in grass. Otherwise, how does sheep have it? But when you look at a sheep, you couldn't really see any emotion from him, can you? They don't. They're very docile. And all of
Yeah.
these kind of animals that just eat grass and they don't really have a diet rich in DHA, they've got like pathways in their body to learn to utilize it,
Hmm.
but they're only getting a little amount if they're going to be using it. Like they're probably going to get ALA and then they're going to try and transform that into DHA. And that's like 0.4% conversion. You're not going to be smart.
Hmm.
If
Okay.
you, yeah, and
Hmm.
that is the key thing. You look at the animals that just around you that really just have that DHA diet. They're way smarter. That's and not even just smarter, but like they're just more stronger.
Hmm. Okay, so more seafood. The more seafood,
Yeah,
the better,
yeah,
right?
and obviously there's different types. You want to make sure that you're getting it in the SN2 position, which is
Yeah.
basically an actual like creature. So you want to actually eat an oyster or actually eat a prawn or salmon, but you want to make sure it's wild. You don't want to eat the stuff when they're feeding it antibiotics or when they're feeding it
Yeah, yeah.
little nut grains. Because they say they're high in omega-3s, but you know what? Omega-3s are grains. So they just feed them
Yeah.
and then they say omega-3, but it's not the DHA, really. They're literally like, see how you get like turkeys and chickens and pork. When you feed them grains, they're just poofer. They're just fatty poofer. It's exactly
Yeah.
what fish is. So you want to make sure you're getting the wild source because they're going down at the bottom of the ocean, you're getting the trace elements, iodine, selenium, all of these things. That's really important
Hmm.
getting that and then you're going to eat that. They say, oh, mercury, but you just do a bit of research and you realize there's things inside this fish that actually chelate and get rid of things like mercury and these inorganic metals. Selenium does a great job of that. And if you're really scared, you might have had mercury poison before.
Yeah.
Just get sardines, mackerel, get fish that don't live long because they don't take them. The salmon and tuna, they live a fairly long time, so they get quite big. They've got a lot of time to get the mercury. You want to eat sardines that will do you great.
Hmm.
But oysters, they don't need to be wild. You can get them farmed, man. They're the best ones pretty much are farmed because they need to grow in the right environment. That's why
Hmm.
they're quite expensive, man.
That's the thing. Yeah, that wild caught salmon. Yeah. It's pricey to get.
Yeah, but I wouldn't recommend fish oil and stuff like that, man. I wouldn't even recommend, cod liver oil and it's just
Like as a supplement, you wouldn't
yeah,
recommend
like
it?
like you get, I know there's Rosita and these brands, yeah,
Yeah.
but just get it straight from the source, man. I don't know, like if you
Yeah.
don't wanna,
It's it's interesting as I've been learning more about Dr. Cruz's philosophy and his all of his ideas. It's interesting because I it we're you're fundamentally taking nature as an axiom, right? Your fundamental first principles kind of thinking. And it's different. It's different because usually people start with the science, the hard science, and then extrapolate and go offwards and try and start from that position. You know what I'm saying? But it's a very different world view when you start from this naturalistic kind of like you're aligned with nature first, and then you jump onto the science or what science has not shown yet. So it's interesting seeing people and speaking to people who have that fundamental axiom placed at a different area, and it just I think it provides so many different and interesting and new ideas. I'm not saying like I believe all of it. You know, obviously I'm a skeptical person. I like to do my research, but it provides some huge, interesting ideas, I think, and I do think it does sound like there's a lot of truth to this stuff. Which is why I'm fascinated with which is why I can't stop consuming this quantum biology stuff. So it's,
Mm,
yeah. Just want to throw that out there.
yeah.
Okay, so mercury toxicity, from what I said, it's not really an issue because of chelating agents like selenium, right? It's something, well, again, if you have first principles thinking, right, you know that if you get it straight from the source, like you're saying, there's no issue, right? You can't, it doesn't, but if you start from a position of the hard science, right? If your starting position is fundamentally separate from nature and what we evolved from, then you're going to see that, you know, as a bad thing. Oh, the mercury poisoning or this or that. It's because you're starting from a position of separating things from their source. And with that, of course, there's going to be um, incorrect, I guess, ideas or inaccurate ideas about the world and how nature works. Would you agree with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
The way I summed it up?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Um, okay, so tell me a little bit about what is your opinion on food gurus? What do you think they get wrong, or what's your opinion on that? I guess in general.
I just think they just one of my main problems with them is like there is an issue going on in the world, man. And it's not like you can just eat food and you can go to the gym and get big, but like what are you actually solving, man? Like your
Hmm.
kid's still gonna be going through some shit and his kid's gonna and she's kid. Like there's some serious issues going on. And the truth is, if you want to actually get to understand how to fix the problem, you gotta really actually find the problem.
Hmm.
That's what these problems guys ain't. They just, they sell a little dream, It's quite egoistic to be like, yeah, work, come work with me. I'll get you looking good. And when you look good, you'll have that confidence. And it's like, it's not what life's about, man. You're not just trying to chase, you're actually trying to
Yeah.
do something properly, man. If you look around you, it's hard to kind of actually be too positive because there's just someone very close, not far away from you that probably going through some shit, man. Because that's how this world is, man. They're not.
Hmm.
It's made to give you problems. So we need to kind of get down to the what the real cause is. And
Hmm.
people want to blame food, and they just want to say, yeah, it's food and this and that. And I agree, man. It's food is really helpful if you want to, optimize without a doubt, man. You don't want to sit there eating not good food. Food is actually really important. But like the problem with me is they want to portray like it's just food. But then, that's not the case. And that's why I'm a bit persistent with the people I'm around when I'm telling them things, because the truth is they need to be on their game. I need to be getting onto them because they're not going to be learning otherwise. They're not going to make any change. And a lot of people don't know the truth, man. So when I'm going up to people and I'm speaking to them, they think it's food, and I'm just like, that's cool. Like if it was food, I wouldn't really be caring about this message too much because people would
Hmm.
be like, "Oh, I love crap food too much. I don't care. Like I know it's bad for me, but I don't care." And that's fair enough. But like you don't hear people saying, "Oh, I don't care about." Do you know what I mean? Like when it comes to these frequencies, which are like the real problem,
Hmm.
EMFs. So when people don't know about that, I need to bring it to their attention because they're probably sleeping next to a Wi-Fi and they don't know. And if like, okay, cool, if you want to eat shit, go ahead, man, because it tastes good. But like, does it feel good to put your head near like a Wi-Fi? You probably don't know. So it's not something that's like it would be something you're willing to maybe change as well. Because it's just like,
Mm.
I didn't know that. I'll just move it in the next room. And we came from a place like I go in places and I'm like, where the hell is the least amount of Wi-Fi? That's where I want to sit. People coming into rooms and they're like, I want the Wi-Fi. Like, which room has the most? Because they've got it.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that doesn't really matter, man. The speed of your Wi-Fi, man. It does a bit, but and I know a lot of people, I'll be honest with you, people like Cruz, they see the benefits in technology in some respect, man. And I see where they're coming from. Like we can actually work with it, but I genuinely feel like it's it's fucked. And I think phones and just these type of this type of a lifestyle, I don't think we could ever be like grow that way. I don't think we can grow like having technology, man, like having to just speaking to people, like you need to go out and see them yourself, man. But that's just a big thing on my behalf. Like I'm not saying I want to go to a caveman and stuff, but like that's just how I feel. I feel like if you we wanted to continually grow, like I generally feel like this technology shit ain't the way, and I think like we need to burn it all. To be honest with you, man, we've already affected a lot of the planet and caused irreversible damage in just like our evolution from this, and like the
Mm.
way we want and other life forms. Like I think this is just the problem with me and the food gurus, man. Like they're just going on about the food. What about the frequencies? What about the Wi-Fi? What about all these, what about the human resonance, man? They don't care about that because they just see food as what it is. They need to actually see it. They need to see the matter. They need to see the food. They need to see themselves eating it, and then need to see themselves go fat. It's hard for them to kind of understand it's not when you can't see it. But then when
Mm.
you can't see these frequencies, but then when you take a step back, you actually see it. And then you can tie deaths, you can tie diseases with people in the environment. That's like that's what I always do. Like it's
Mm.
like people play a game. Like my game is like I know why he's got that. And like
Mm.
it's sad, like actually being in like that type of like a persona with people. But like, is it okay just to like hurt yourself and then when time comes, you're like, oh my God, like when something ends up happening, you're all crying about it. Like it doesn't make sense. Like I respect a person if they made the decisions and when the time comes to it, they're like, I don't care, like I'm good. But it's often these people who live this, type of life when it really gets hard and they get hit with certain diseases, these are the people the first to crumble. They're the ones that want help and they want to change. Oh, I'm sorry. Like I wish I didn't do this and that.
Mm.
And this is my problem. And I know that once we scrub up the brains and we can kind of understand where we're going wrong, understand the power that we have, then we can get shit done, man. Then we can actually realize, you know what? We're not bringing our kids to school anymore if you keep giving them iPads all day. Because that's basically what's happening. They're giving the kids iPads. Like this, there's not too many studies ain't too far away from actually seeing like what's happening to people. And like
Mm.
you gotta protect yourself. Then the food gurus never talk about the inverse square law. And like the further you are from the radiation source point is the better thing to do. And like we don't hear this, we don't see this. And
Yeah.
the sun, that's the radiation source point we want to be going next to. That's the one we want to be going out. And that's what we want to be going close with. But people like
Mm.
spending 93% indoors and people are spending most of their time under these lights. Why is it a problem, bro?
Mm. Mm.
Like more than 50% of the biological functions come from the eyes. You know, there's a difference, man. The mitochondria sensing light, yeah, through the skin and they working to help you. But your eyes, the mitochondria don't see what you see. They rely on you. So your eyes are you. When you look in and let me give you an example, man. When you get a message from someone and there's bad news, you got your phone there. You're in a good mood, bro. You're laughing your head off. You're chilling with your friends, and then you get a bad text, and your stomach just sinks. What happened? You just looked at something. Something came in your front of your eyes, and your whole body just changed. Same with like, you know, it's just any bad news, man. I'm not gonna go and start giving, but any bad news, if you sat there and you're just in your back garden and you're just chilling and you're so relaxed, and then you just see like a little tiger walk past you, what's gonna happen? Your hormones are just gonna be lifting off straight away. You're just gonna be, your heart's gonna be racing, and nothing's happened, bro. Like you just laid there, but all that did change was just something came in your vision, and your whole physiology just changes, bro. Everything about what you feel changes. And this is what light is about as well. If there was no light, you wouldn't see that tiger. This is why light coming through the eyes shows you a picture of what's in front of you. And this picture can influence your feelings, man. And
Hmm.
actually it influences your hormones. And like
Hmm.
moving with the cycle of the sun is so important. You see all of the animals, man, they respect it. They mate at certain times of the year. They migrate, they hibernate. Like human women are the only ones that kind of don't, like they're in heat all the time, man. They're kind of, they want men to stick about, so they make sure that they can always help them. And do you know what I mean? They can always look after them, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But since we've come away from that, there's been it's everything's just changed. Everything is getting worse, man. Especially with the blue light, man, because that affects your relationship with the sun. So
Hmm.
when it's like basically you got solar panels on your roof, and being in blue light basically is like getting the hammer and hammering it. And then you go out in the sun and it's like, yo, you took the solar panels, you mashed them up, and then you pushed it outside, and then you're like, come on, let's go collect some solar energy. How are you gonna? You're probably gonna think there's probably gonna be some sparks coming out from that because it's like, because it's open electricity, the sun. You don't know what's gonna happen.
Hmm.
Well, that's the same thing with kind of us, man. Our exterior plays a huge role in what happens in the interior. And actually, this blue light just smashes that. So when you go outside, you can't use it properly. You can't use the sun to the best advantage. And actually, when you're in a poor environment where there's not much sun, if you're actually blue lit toxic, it's just even worse. It's just it's almost impossible, man, to kind of thrive.
How, so you are in favor of going back, like removing technology and living the original, perhaps? I mean, how far can we go back? Because it's like, are you going to go back to like an agricultural kind of life or like a hunter-gatherer kind of life, would you say? Or are you more in favor of going forward and becoming a modern hunter-gatherer in the sense of, I
Yeah,
mean, it's
going
essentially,
forward and actually just dropping all of this, just the way we're doing the tech, dropping it all and
yeah,
start fresh with a new source of energy, man. We
yeah.
can, there's so many ways we can actually get what we want. We don't need to use a lot of these things, man. And actually, the army and the military, they're using all of these frequencies for communication with submarines, and all of these things are just kind of unnecessary.
Hmm.
I think
Okay.
we're just using kind of like the resources of the earth, man. But like once you actually gain as a civilization, you can actually use and harness the energy around you, man. Look at the universe and how strong it is. Like, why
Hmm.
are we, worried about, like, why are we just still just trying to build on just Tesla's grid?
Hmm. And all right, so I want to ask you about uh you've recently had a trip to El Salvador.
Mhm.
Um and yeah, you met Uncle Jack, right?
Yeah,
In
man. Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Dude, how was that? Like, tell me about that a little bit.
He's
That
dope,
sounds
man. When I
awesome.
seen him, he's like a celeb to me, man. And I was like,
Yeah.
I know he don't want to be seen in that way, but I have
Yeah.
respect for him. When I seen him, like I listen to him. He's my favorite teacher. When I come and listen to people, I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy listening to certain people talking about certain things. It just goes over my head. It gets boring. He's got a way of kind of telling you something because of what he's trying to say. He's trying to say you're doing wrong. And when someone tells you you're doing wrong, you like bring your ear in a bit. You're like, huh? Like, what do you
Yeah.
need? And then you listen. So I fully respect him. When I seen him at the age of like event, I kept it cool. I just kind of hung out with him, man. Like there was always people following him around because he's just a G. But uh,
Yeah.
it was great to see. It was great to see him, and you can just see it in himself though. He's stressed. He's doing a lot of work, man. He is like working overtime on overtime, man. When I spoke to him, he said one thing to me. He goes, he'll never see the trees that of the seeds he's planted. And like that meant a lot because it's just like he knows he's just a sacrifice. He knows he's putting his life on the line and he's not even gonna see what he's really gonna achieve. And
Okay.
that takes a lot, man, because he puts himself in bad environments to teach, man, and help. That's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Because of his
It-
trauma
it-
call thing. Yeah. Because he's
yeah,
a, yeah.
even through Twitter and you read his blogs, like he has been doing this for a long time, man. And he says if you're a fast reader, it'll take you 10 years.
Hmm. Hmm.
He's sharp. He's got a lot of background knowledge. I don't like to like say like I know, but like he's probably one of the smartest people walking this earth. So it was cool to see him, man. I knew how he used to be when I'm listening to his older podcasts and stuff. You know, he had a lot more love and he was a lot more calmer, man, but nothing's
Yeah.
changing really. And he's actually onto people. And it's like ever since he's really sticking on people, this is when things are actually working out for him. He's got big things planned because he knows his value right now is getting what it deserves, man. He knows he's doing a great job, man. I went over
Hmm.
there mainly just to support him because he writ that law. So I wanted to be there for him because he did that was like one of the best things probably done for humanity in a very, very long time, man. And a lot of people don't realize it. If you do want to know what it was, he written an amendment for El Salvador where he's allowed medical freedom between doctor and patient. They're looking to change a lot of things to do with the water. They're gonna change, like they're not gonna be involved in geoengineering, like cloud seeding. They're looking to change
Yeah.
the lights. Because he went and said that he actually went into the president's palace and he brought a spectroscope with him and he kind of said to Bukele, like, what are you doing? This is all blue light. And actually, he said you need to scrub your brain up because, or not scrub your brain up, but you need to keep your brain sharp because and this is what Jack said to Bakali, that we need you right now. And we need you on your best optimal way.
Hmm.
And then he's changed all of the houses in there, all the lights in the President Palace to incandescent lights and
Wow.
changing all of the street lights from blue to amber. Well, like not blue, but
Well,
like LED to like amber color. Because what did Jack say? He goes, Bukele, you don't like crime, do you? Because we know Bukele don't like crime. And he goes, oh, take a look at this file. Show like an FBI paper with basically crime rate going up ever since the LEDs going up and they're just matching.
wow.
Like more LED lights in the society, more crime. Bukele just weren't playing about. He was like, I hate crime.
Yeah.
Change the lights.
Interesting. That's so interesting. So
Doing a lot of
did you
things,
get,
man. He's doing a lot of things for people to do with health. And Bukele just wants loads of people that are artists, philosophers, and just thinkers, great thinkers. And the truth is, he's doing things that are going to want people to come in.
hmm,
And how many people that you know have got Bitcoin and they want to be free? Like
hmm.
there were people that bought it 13 years ago when it was like £1. And they probably got thousands of tokens. You could buy, a mansion over there for like 15
Yeah.
tokens.
Yeah. I saw that. I saw how he was giving out visas
Hmm.
for philosophers.
Yeah, just
That's
people that are just
it's
critical
different.
thinkers, man. People
Yeah.
who are about real living. Do you know what I mean? He's not interested in people coming over, and making it gray. We need color. We need, 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 we
I love that.
Yeah,
It's
we
awesome.
yeah, and I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Like, am I pursuing potentially moving there? Probably. Because at this
Wow.
rate, the way things are going everywhere, it's not going to get easy, man. And we're just in it now. You know, if you take the Mona Lisa and you put it into your front of your face, you're not going to see anything. You need to
Yeah.
take a couple steps back to get the picture. We're in it now. We're not seeing that people are dying so fast. People are just dropping dead. People are
Yeah. Yeah.
cancer is like 1 in 2 now. You're going to get it. And like, yeah, do you know what? They like to talk about, oh, cancer, not many people die from it anymore. But the truth is, the truth is, they're still getting it, bro. And like, that's a big problem. All right, yeah, do you know what? They might have better ways to find it quicker, get rid of it. But like, you do understand that you're still gonna and you're not always gonna potentially win.
Hmm.
It's a game where, you know, let's be honest. You want to talk about light? We know, oh, it's not dangerous, is it? Oh, but it might be because if I told you to sit in front of an X-ray and let me just leave it on for a few hours, bro, you're gonna turn around and be like, no, I ain't doing that. But that's what just like chemotherapy, radiotherapy is. That is literally gamma rays, X-rays, and it's just smashing your body, trying to get
Hmm.
rid of the cancer cells because obviously your normal cells to your cancer cells, your normal cells are going to outweigh it. So what it basically does, it just smashes so much of your cells that like there's a good chance that the cancer is going to go, but like a lot of your own cells are going to go. And
Hmm.
like you, you use light to we use, and this is how important light is, that like light can hurt you, but then we can use light to kind of help the hurt. And that's what they've kind of done. All right, cool. If you didn't do radiotherapy, you probably cancer will probably carry on growing and you probably will die. So we did probably need to give you radiotherapy. But like we just using light to fix a light problem. That's just how important and how pivotal light can be on life.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Did you see those amber lights when you were there?
No, he's gonna. It's obviously
He's
gonna
gonna,
take not a lot of time, but like it's gonna take a fair amount of time to get all of them changed. When I first
dude.
got there, there was actually heavy in the blue light because of the flag, right? So when I got
Yeah.
there, I think I landed about 11 p.m. and there were just loads of little street lamps, but they were like extra, and they just had the blue, and I was just like, oh, this isn't ideal,
This
and
isn't right.
yeah, yeah. So and
Gotcha.
yeah, so yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that just sounds awesome. Like I love someone who like takes and not takes risks, but like tries something new, you know? Like do something different. You know,
Hmm.
their main form of currency is Bitcoin. Like
Hmm.
that when I heard that I was like that's like the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I'm
Bro,
again, I'm not
when you
yeah,
go down to the beach, there's people selling ice creams, there's people selling quesadillas, and they're just walking about, and they just you buy it with Bitcoin.
wow. They don't so what
Just
they
just
don't
hand it
take
over your
they don't
food,
take
and then
they
you
don't let's
don't.
say like British pounds or anything like that. Like if you give them, they don't take it. Nothing.
They probably would take it, but like
Yeah.
their main duty is like going around and like selling like with Bitcoin. Like they
It's
just they're just big on that.
it's all electronic, meaning you can't. There's no physical version of that. It
Mhm.
has to be through your phone,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think. Listen, I think it seems like the world is heading in a direction where people want to live in their own respective ways. I've explored a lot of like I call it alternative health, like quantum biology, like all these different things. People want a full autonomy, not just over their like personal, like spiritual lives and autonomy over their belief systems, right? I feel like we've
Mhm.
had a lot of revolutions in thought and we've slowly given people rights. You could, go, back to like the Declaration of Independence, giving people power to the birth of democracy. It's all about obviously there's this growing in complexity on a biological level, but on a social historical level, as human civilization grows and evolves, we're slowly giving people more and more and more and more rights. And I feel like there's going to be a revolution in health where people will be able to live like holistically and in all aspects exactly the way they want. And I essentially, I kind of, it's this idea is in its very like beginning phase. Like I haven't developed it, but I think I will as my life goes on. But I essentially I like to call it the modern hunter gatherer,
Mhm.
right? Where people, we're developing a level of technology where you can be self-sustainable. You can go out and buy a patch of land in some country where it's cheap, develop your own tribe, raise your kids the way you want to raise them, apply all of these health techniques that you're telling me about, create literally your own tribe, right? And you get to implement any kind of health practices you want. No non-native EMF or you do it in a way where it isolates the non-native EMF, and all these different things, whatever you want, it doesn't matter. And it feels like we're going in that direction. People are just going to like break out and live in their own tribes. And then you essentially go and find and live with your tribe. It has only happened on a technological level now. Like, for example, when people are alone and they don't feel like they relate to anyone around them, they go and find parasocial relationships through people on YouTube and they relate and connect to people online. But then they also join like things like Reddit forums and Reddit groups. So that's the tribe. That's the modern day tribe, right? My tribe is not the traditional one that hunter gatherer was living in, 10,000 years ago. It's an electronic tribe where I get to join them on Reddit and talk about certain things and socialize them with them, but it's all electronic, right? But again, this is my hypothesis is that we're eventually going to reach a level where you're going to be able to go travel and live there with that tribe. You get to choose your tribe that fits you. And
Mhm.
that I feel like is essentially what you're gonna do. If I'm not mistaken, like you can correct me, but it fits in with what you're gonna do, right? You have this deep emotional calling and to this type of philosophy, this way of life, right? This quantum biology way of life, and you're literally saying, "I'm just gonna move there
Mhm.
and live there," right? This is a privilege that was not possible or was not available to humans before us. But because we're constantly evolving, it's inevitable. Like that's the next stage in human civilization, in my opinion. So, what are your thoughts on that? Does any of that ring a bell? Do you think it's
It does. It's pretty cool, man. But like, it is a benefit to go there, but the truth is, I'm probably not far away from that equator where I'm originally from anyway. So like, I'm actually like from India. And
okay?
why did they move me from there? Like, I didn't have a choice. I was actually born in England. So
Okay.
really, if I had it my way, I'd actually be there right now. But then if you actually look at the way that country is being ran and the way they're trying to go forward, it's really like
Hmm.
not resonating with me, man. Like the pollution, you can see it in the air. It's always cloudy. That country's got a lot of important history,
Gotcha.
beautiful, but it's not in the best hands right now, man. Like I ain't really trying to be there. Um, Even though they're my people, they actually are my tribe, and I'd actually love to be there, like you
Hmm.
said. So maybe it is a blessing that I can just go here but like if I had it in reality, I'd be happy just to have stayed there and not have been colonized and
Yeah,
kind of
gotcha.
what my ancestors did.
Have you been back to India? Like, have you
I've never
visited?
actually been before, to be honest with you, man.
Wow. Wow.
And my parents were both born in Africa because a lot of Indians went from India to Africa. So I've been there. I actually
Interesting.
been to Kilimanjaro, Tanzania, and places like that. So
Gotcha.
I've been there, and that's obviously that is home if you want to
Yeah.
talk about near Kenya and them areas.
All right, Nikesh. Any last words you want to leave the audience with or the viewer?
Yeah, just be optimistic, man. That's it, man. Like obviously I probably just said a few things I probably but like like you said, man, like you have that dream. I'm optimistic. I think that we can definitely benefit and just get down to the root cause of problems, man. You don't go into the doctor's office and say, "Oh, treat this with like a pill." You want to say, "Get to the root cause, man." And we're struggling as a society right now. Like, let's actually get into the actual root cause of it. The way we do that is kind of understand how things run, man. How do you do that?
you might have to get into physics a bit. So that's it. So
I love it. Yeah, I definitely want to learn a lot more physics. So that's going
yeah,
to be exciting. Yeah, yeah, and
yeah,
relating it to
definitely.
biology. Awesome.
That's
All right,
it.
thank you.
Physics powers
Thanks.
biology, bro. Physics powers biology, bro.
Yeah.